Easy Explain the Subjection of Women by John Stuart Mill, Chapter 1. So let's just start here by setting the stage. And if you've been following along, this is a little bit of a jump in time coming out of utilitarianism that was published in 1861. We're now in 1869, quite a times later. Mill has had the entirety of the 1860s at this point to really set a stage for himself, his own stage. He's in Parliament now at this point. He's really become pretty well known given his two very successful theories, his political one for liberty and now his ethical one for utilitarianism. Now we're going to apply both of these concepts, these ideals, these ethical frameworks for defense of feminism and women's rights. So let's get into it here. The principle which regulates the existing social relations between the two sexes, the legal subordination of one sex to the other, is wrong in itself, and now one of the chief hindrances to human improvement, that ought to be replaced by a principle of perfect equality, admitting no power or privilege on the one side, nor disability on the other. So here it is, right? We're calling it out. Just the fact that, women are legally subordinated to men. This is wrong. Mill is really calling for a principle of perfect equality here, right? So not one side is more powered or more privileged than the other, and one side has no disabilities over the other. So let's look at this more specifically. Let's look at Mill's petition for women's suffrage. He says, ever since there have been women able to make their sentiments known by their writings, the only mode of publicity which society permits to them, keep Mary Wollstonecraft in mind here, and her vindication for the rights of women, an increasing number of them have recorded protests against their present social condition. And recently many thousands of them, headed by the most eminent women known to the public, have petitioned Parliament for their admission to the parliamentary suffrage. So Mill's backing this, right? This is happening actually at the social scale, right? Women are, coming together, they're protesting, they're putting their views and their rights forward in writing, and Mill's taking a stand on this, right? He's petitioning on their behalf as well, as a man. So we're going to introduce this modern conviction now coming from Mill. So he says, this is the fruit of 1,000 years of experience, is that things in which the individual is the person directly interested never go right, but as they are left to their own discretion, and that any regulation of them by authority, except to protect the rights of others, is sure to be mischievous, right? So we're actually going to try to look to undo this, right? Mill is currently saying that we got to let people, have some liberty here and pursue their own self-interests. We have to let people do what they think is right and stand up for themselves. And as an authority, as a parliament, we should just be protecting this right of other people, right? We shouldn't assume mischief or malintent here. These women want to vote, right? Women are calling for a right of suffrage, and how could that not be an impure thing? So let's also consider the nature of the sexes here from Mill. So he says, standing on the ground of common sense and the constitution of the human mind, I deny that anyone knows or can know the nature of the two sexes, as long as they have only been seen in their present relation to one another. So here we start to see some more empathetic standpoint coming from Mill, right? That men cannot fully know what it is to be woman, and woman cannot fully know what it is to be man. And we need to take that into account here, right? We need to kind of bring that empathy and that perspective taking. We're also going to consider the imbalance of authority. So Mill says, even with true affection, authority on the one side and subordination on the other prevent perfect confidence, right? So even if you mean well, if it is imbalanced, authority can actually work, especially in a representative government, right? It's not going to work out that way. To bolster his argument here, Mill's also going to pull from some well-known sources. He's going to quote from Delphine by Madame de Stael from 1802, who says, a man can defy prejudice, a woman must submit to it, right? Big difference here. Mill's trying to paint the picture of. And he's also going to go back to Francis Bacon from the Novum Organum back in 1620, where he says popular opinion is deficient on most matters. And here Mill is calling out the men, right? He's like, oh, here's the way we've been doing things. Here's the way that things are. But guess what? It's deficient. Bacon called it out. And I'm going to bring it out again here now too. So let's go back to this modern conviction and let's apply it here to round out chapter 1 of On the Subjection of Women. Mill finishes here by saying, for according to all the principles involved in modern society, the question rests with women themselves, to be decided by their own experience and by the use of their own faculties. There are no means of finding what either one person or many can do, but by trying, and no means by which anyone else can discover for them what it is for their happiness to do or to leave undone. Right, so here he's taking the stance, he's taking the call, he's saying, look, women say they want and need the right to vote, and we need to back that, right? They are bringing that forward from their own experience, from their own faculties, for their own happiness, and, who am I to not be behind this, right? I'm actually going to take a stance on this. I'm going to petition with them. He's really setting himself up as, very public and outward feminist man here, which was not the most common thing at the time. Somewhat of an act of heroism here. So for now, that's chapter 1. Going to move right into chapter 2. But for now, hope this helps.